Hey everyone, this is Derek with OPTP, and thank you so much for joining us today for this Next Level Content Education series in collaboration with EIM Evidence in Motion. Now, today we're going to focus on pain science, and we've got Kory Zimney joining us from EIM. And let's just jump right into a quick introduction, Kory. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks. Really appreciate it, Derek. Really fun to be on here. So yeah, just a quick introduction. Kory Zimney. I've been a physical therapist for about 30 years. I've been working with Adrian and EIM for at least 10 or 15 of those years now. And currently I teach at the University of South Dakota, where I'm an associate professor in the physical therapy department. I also direct our PhD in health science program there.
Nice, cool. Yeah, I've gotten to know you and Adrian pretty well over the years, and obviously we carry a number of publications that you both have developed or contributed to, and it's all great material. And again, today, our pain science being our topic here, we're going to lead with the same question that we always do in these interviews, which is, will you please share with us one of your most profound stories of a patient healing, in this case through pain science education?
Yeah, no, I mean, there's so many patients, when I clinically practice. And I think sometimes too, for me, it's not even obviously there's the big ones that show up that, had really chronic pain, were debilitated, couldn't really do much, and then they went on and did stuff. But for me, even just a lot of just the small little wins, just people that even had more acute type injuries, and just when they could understand the pain and you could just see their fear and anxiety of it not becoming a chronic issue. I oftentimes think back to those type of situations. I can think of one gentleman. He had a labral tear, and he was all worried. He wanted to try out for a professional semi-pro football team. He had dreams of doing this. He knew it was like his one last chance. And, just being able to explain to him why it was still sore, how the healing process worked, and really just going through that and just helping him change his behavior and his outlook. Even just simple wins like that, to me, always just stand out, and really why I appreciated learning this content through the years.
Yeah, well, that's excellent. I've heard a lot of great stories as well along those same lines. And so, what initially then led you to specialize or focus on pain science?
Yeah, kind of that old adage, sometimes your passion doesn't, you don't find your passion finds you, I think might fit into this situation. Just in clinical practice, just, those were the patients that I struggled with, that I just couldn't understand. And as I started to grow in understanding pain science, everything started to make more sense. And really I could understand, one, just how to help patients a little bit more, but even in times when it didn't work, I could understand why it didn't. And so it really answered a lot of those whys for me, which just made clinical practice that much easier and more enjoyable each day going in.
Yeah. So since you've gotten into the field obviously and been practicing it for a while now, how has integrating this material into your interactions with patients helped you, take the quality of care to the next level?
Yeah, that's, really it's just that the communication and just helping patients really understand why they hurt. Like I said, you can just see those light bulb moments and just see fear and anxiety and worry and stuff oftentimes leave their faces, and just that they walk out of the clinic with a much more positive outlook, really understanding, kind of, again, that acute injury, why those inflammatory mechanisms, what's occurring, why the pain maybe is better or worse one day, or those with the chronic condition, why it's lasted for 5, 6 years in that process, and then what they can actually do about it, and why things they've done before maybe have helped a little, why some things maybe didn't help, and just really helping them understand why it is the situation that they're going through, and really giving them a direction of what recovery and what feeling better and getting back to life is really about. So that's really been just such a satisfying component of really understanding pain science and just integrating it in with everything that I did in physical therapy before.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, I mean, you kind of already answered this next question, but I think speaking specifically now to the clinician, why would a clinician add this tool to their toolbox, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, it's the one thing that pretty much every patient you have walk through your door is going to have. I mean, you're going to see knees, you're going to see ankles, you're going to see shoulders, you're going to see people with strokes, other type of conditions. And while you have to understand those, most of them are going to have pain related to it. And for me, it was once I really was able to connect, the injury or the pathology or the disease that they were going through, along with understanding pain. And when you could really put those two together, that was the light bulb for me as a clinician, but also the light bulb for the patient, and really understanding how those two things interact. And really that connection between that. It gained me a ton of confidence in the clinic. I kind of could figure out expectations of where the patient was coming from, and then giving me a roadmap of how we were going to get them better, and really understanding the complexities, the social determinants of health and behavior modification and all those kind of things that go along that process, and their willingness to change, and really understanding all those different components, just to really see a more complete picture of the patient sitting in front of me, other than just a knee or a shoulder or a neck, and really starting to understand the patient as a whole, and how that really, all of those things, those components together, really shaped their pain experience, and how that affected their function as a whole to get back to their activities. So it really helped connect a lot of those dots from all the different places when I kind of started putting in the concepts of the pain sciences along with everything else that I had learned. That's really when things really came together for me clinically. And obviously teaching this to students now, and teaching it to other clinicians, you can see that process happening to just those unknowns that they've had. It's like, well, I've seen this patient have this before and it doesn't make sense to me. And then when you can learn how pain science ties into that, all of a sudden those light bulbs go off, and it's just that understanding, which creates comfort. Why do we have anxiety? It's the unknown. But when I can understand it, I don't have anxiety about treating patients like that. And that comes across to the patients and the relationships that you have with the patients. And that's what I think is key and important too. The more confident and less anxious you are as a clinician, that carries over to your patients. And you can say it with confidence. You're not just guessing. You really can understand those processes of what are occurring, which really helps you in the total treatment that you can provide for patients.
Right. Yeah. So what are the course offerings, I guess, or the education offerings through EIM under pain science?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously we have just the basic beginning course most people take, obviously, which is just the pain neuroscience education. Within that, then there's the second one where we refer to kind of focus on function. And that's really where we get into a little bit more depth, and really understanding kind of the behavior change process, really understand motivational interviewing and how some of these other kind of techniques can tie into just the basic, like I said, in the original course, it's really just understanding how pain works and really understanding the neuroscience behind it, getting some of the basic stories and metaphors that you can tell, and how does it fit in with your total treatment package. And then you really start filling in the gaps when you do the focus on function. Some of the other stuff too, though, are like the neurodynamics course, and how do you deal with neuropathic pain, utilizing that. Obviously, we have our situation for more complex regional pain syndrome or too hot to handle. Those are hypersensitive, and how do we use some of kind of graded motor imagery techniques and some of that to help some of those patients out. So those are all sprinkling of courses that you can do. Within that, you can go on and do the certification, where it's a combination of all those courses along with some additional study. And then you can even take it to the highest level, which is the fellowship program, where you really dive into those depths of learning. So in the original course, we might spend 10 minutes talking about how sleep affects things. You go through the fellowship and it's going to be 2.5 hours of content and your continued reading. So you really, it's fun to watch those that have gone through that fellowship, just their level of confidence in treating patients, their level of effectiveness in working with those very complex patients. So yeah, it's those multiple levels that you can continue to build over time, which is really what education should be. It's a lifelong learning process in developing those skills, which is kind of neat how we built that program where you can get the basics and then gradually build up over time.
Yeah, yeah. And then you guys also have the first Elevate Pain Symposium, right? December 14th. So
Yeah.
can you tell us real quick what that is and why someone should attend it?
Yeah, so obviously Adrian, just one of his many ideas was, how can we bring just these super content experts from across the country? And the nice thing about virtual is it's easy to do. You don't have to fly people from Belgium and Britain and all these other kind of places to come in. And so we can all meet at one time on this virtual kind of format. And really, we're taking just very common diagnoses that we see in the clinic every day, and then really looking at how do we apply it to those kind of diagnoses. Your low back pain, your headaches. I'm doing lateral epicondylitis, tennis elbow. It's just something that walks in the door. But how do these just regular treatment principles that we should know, but how do we tie pain science into it? And really, how do we, what's it look like in the clinic to treat these common diagnoses? That's probably, if somebody, a clinician, were to look at their Monday morning schedule, probably 50–60% of your patients probably are going to have some of these diagnoses, and really how do we have the most up-to-date information from these people and just a really focused effort into those. So it's really should be an exciting, fun day just learning from multiple people from here in the US and then across other countries and stuff to just really bring the content at the highest level in a very targeted, dedicated 1 hour, boom, gather this information. This is how you treat this to really help clinicians really get exceptional outcomes using clinical practice guidelines, the latest evidence-based pain science to go with it.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Yeah, and we'll encourage everyone watching to visit the Evidence in Motion website or, contact Evidence in Motion, of course, to learn more and, of course, to register. But yeah, we're excited about that and think it's going to be a great event. Okay, Kory, last question here. And this one is more for our new physical therapist or someone considering the physical therapy profession is what's one key piece of advice you would give someone up and coming in the profession?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I get to teach students in our program here, so this is near and dear to my heart. And, probably one of the biggest thing is the more I've taught, been on faculty now for going on my 11th year, what I see with students is really balancing two things. It's seeing that, one, they're smarter and they know more than they think they do. Our students nowadays are just incredibly talented, just incredibly smart, and they oftentimes just that fear. They're afraid of doing something wrong, and they just are I don't know enough. And just encouraging them to recognize they know more than they think oftentimes. That there's many great programs across this country that teach physical therapy students, and they prepare those students very well to treat well in the clinic. We have good evidence when we follow those clinical practice guidelines and the latest evidence. You're going to get very effective outcomes, and so having confidence in what you do, but then in the same sense, balancing that well with a little bit of humility is that you don't know everything, and you'll never will know everything that you need to know. So you're better than you think you are, but you're not as good as you think you are sometimes as well. And it's really helping them balance those two things out. That they can gain confidence when they're treating patients, but also having that will to continue to want to learn and get better at their craft and their skill to help patients out. And I think when you pull those two things together, that you have a sense of competence and confidence in what you're doing and working with your patients, that carries over to the patients, that they feel safe and secure in your hands. And when you have that sense of humility of knowing that there's still more for me to learn, that you're really going to listen to your patients and realize that your patients will be able to teach you things as well. And when you take those two things together, I think that's when you really can create this great relationship with your patients, create a good therapeutic alliance. And that's really when you're going to see your outcomes just soar, your enjoyment in what you do every day. When you can, balance the tension between those two things is just really going to help you just grow in your profession and continue to love it for many years, as I have for over 30 years now.
Yeah, that's great advice, I think, Kory. And that's the first time I've heard that response. A lot of times it's, find a mentor, whatnot, but I think that's a great piece of information. So hopefully that helps again instill some confidence in some of our students, but also inform them that there's always more to learn, right? Very cool. Well, great. That's gonna kind of round things out for us here today, Kory. Is there any final words you'd like to leave people with here before we sign off?
No, I just really appreciate this opportunity again. Just, yeah, those that haven't explored the pain sciences, please think about it. Like I said, obviously I'm biased. I've dove into this world for a long time, but I really think it makes a big difference when you're treating patients. And then come join us if you're unsure about it. A nice, easy way to do it is a little virtual format coming up here in December. So look forward to maybe seeing some people there at that event.
Yeah. And I also want to encourage everyone, watching. Kory's been involved in a number of publications that we sell at OPTP.
Yep.
So definitely check those out. If you're a PT, up and coming PT, you want to learn more about pain science and some associated topics, definitely check that out as well. So
Yep.
cool. All right, Kory, well, thanks so much for your time. Thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next time on our next episode of Next Level. Thanks.